In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to pick your best foundation shade. Now this does also include concealers, but I'm only going to be talking about foundations. Hey everyone, this is Lisa. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Lisa Monique Beauty, where we cover all things beauty and lifestyle for the over 50 woman. So in today's video, I am going to tell you how to find your best foundation shade. And we are going to cover finding your undertone, your skin tone, and how to come up with some shade names so that when you go to the store or look online, you can actually narrow in on some of those color swatches. Now, when I started researching for this video, I did a quick Google for images on skin tones, and it was just amazing how many different skin tones there are, and it is no wonder foundation companies are having so much trouble creating the perfect shade for everyone. Now, I almost think it was easier when there were only 12 to 20 shades, and you just kind of looked and found, I don't know, something close, and you didn't really worry about finding the perfect shade. And that's why I talked about in this video, we're going to find the best shade, because it may not always be the perfect shade, because there would be hundreds and hundreds of different shades to match everyone exactly. Plus, what your perfect shade is this week, you spend one afternoon at your grandchild or your child's soccer game outside or baseball game, and then all of a sudden your shade is different. I have spent one day at the beach under an umbrella with sunscreen and a hat and big sunglasses, and already my skin tone has changed tremendously in the 4 or 5 days that I've been back in Florida. Now, if you're lucky enough to live in the United States or one of the countries that allows you to return open makeup, then it becomes a little bit easier, because you don't have to worry quite as much about narrowing down to that perfect shade before you spend your hard-earned cash. Now, I know some people think, I'm not going to return makeup, all they do is throw it out. Well, all I would do is throw it out, and especially if you listen to makeup companies now telling you you have to throw out your foundation after 6 to 12 months or your mascara after 3 months. I mean, we're just throwing makeup out left and right, whether or not it's at the store or not. Now, in the US, you can return open makeup. You can try a foundation, return open makeup almost everywhere. Your drugstore, CVS, Walgreens, for sure, because I've returned there, Target, Walmart, Amazon, Sephora, Ulta, department store counters. So if you find that you are not happy with the foundation that you've taken home and purchased, I recommend that you return it. You set it aside and return it. And when I'm shopping online, even if I shop online at like Sephora, I do choose stores that I can go in person to return it, as opposed to having to mail it back. Because if I have to mail it back, chances are it's going to sit on my counter by my front door, long after the return period. The first step in finding your best foundation shade is to understand your undertones. Now, there are 3 major undertones: cool, warm, and neutral. So most foundation brands will recognize and have shades in the cool, warm, and neutral ranges. Some will only have cool and warm, but majority of them now have cool, warm, and neutral, and they are designated by a C for cool, W for warm, or N for neutral. Now, the cool tones tend to have a little more pink or red in them, and your warm undertones tend to have a little more yellow in them, and your neutral undertones are usually in between. They either have both a little pink and yellow undertones, or neither pink nor yellow, just a nice kind of beigey, beigey taupe undertone. There are also a lot of secondary undertones, and some foundation brands are starting to recognize them. And those are peach, red, and olive. Those will be usually designated with a P, an O, or an R. It is definitely confusing, especially if you're starting from, I don't wear any foundation or just a light tinted moisturizer, and now I'm trying to buy the perfect foundation and I can't figure it out. There are some generic ways to figure out your undertone. The first one, the most easy, the most recognized, is to look at the veins on your wrist, and you need to do it outdoors. So I'm going to put a slide. I'm going to have to go outdoors on a nice day. You don't want to necessarily be in the brightest sun, and you don't want to just be in front of a window, because a lot of windows have a green UV coating on them. It can affect color in your home. So you want to look out in the natural sun and see what color your veins are. Now, If they are blue or purple, you tend to have cool undertones. If they are green, you have warm undertones. And if you have both or you can't tell, chances are they're neutral undertones. I actually have both. When I'm up towards the base of my hand, they're usually blue and purple. And then when I come down my forearm, they get green. And I will agree with that because in the winter, my skin does become cooler. And in the summer, it does get warmer. And usually I end up wearing a neutral shade. A second way to test your undertones is look at your jewelry. What jewelry do you think looks best on you? If you think silver looks best on you, then chances are you have a cooler undertone. If you prefer gold, chances are you're leaning warmer. If you can wear either, then you may be neutral. I know a lot of people, like myself, I wear jewelry based on the trends. For 10, 15 years, silver was all the jewelry trend, so I wore silver regardless. And now I am wearing gold because gold is becoming a more popular jewelry trend. So what about a test for those secondary undertones, the neutral, the peach, the olive? Well, there's really no good test for those. Chances are if you have an olive undertone or a peach undertone and you've tried to purchase foundations before, you already know that your skin has those undertones, and a lot of times foundations with smaller shade ranges don't work for you. But if you really can't decide, then just start in the neutral range and go from there when you're starting to test. So once you've narrowed down your undertone, you want to check out your actual skin tone. And they started off with 3 major groupings: your light, medium, and deep. And then they've kind of split it up, and now you have your light, light medium, medium, medium deep or tan, deep, and even extra deep, and even fair. So there are a lot of skin tone ranges. It just means how dark your skin is. It can also change. I am a medium, but on the lightest end of medium in the winter, and I am tan, medium deep tan in the summer. So what are you going to do with all this information? Next, you're going to do a little bit of research on your computer or phone. And if this sounds like a lot of work, it actually is, because it's hard to pick or narrow down your foundation, especially just if you're going looking at these little plastic circles of colors that actually don't look anything like the foundations in the stores or in the packaging. So I think it's good to have an idea where you're going to start before you walk into the stores. If it is too much prep work for you, then you can always just go up to a makeup counter and ask them to swatch you. Note what shade that they swatch you, whether it's warm or cool, and if it's a medium shade, and then just go from there. But today is about finding your undertone, skin tone, and maybe a shade name or two to arm yourself with when you go into the stores. So step 1 would be to guesstimate your undertone and your skin tone. Are you a fair cool, or a medium neutral, or a medium deep warm? And then if you wear foundation regularly, you probably already have an idea. Next, you're going to find common shade names. If you own a couple of foundations already, then you can look up that foundation online and see how it's described. Sometimes the foundation is going to be called warm beige, and then you will know. But sometimes it's called something like Valencia or something, really cute, but really doesn't tell you anything about the shade. So look up your foundation online and see how it's described. See if they call it a, medium warm shade. And then you can also plug your foundation into one of the foundation finder websites, foundation.com and temptalia.com. Those are both really good. So you plug in your foundation and it will list other foundations that should be similar in skin tone and undertone, and give you other suggestions, and you can see what those names are to kind of find a starting point. Now, some typical color names are, if you've got cool skin tone, and these go from fair to deep, it might be ivory, vanilla, bisque, shell, cocoa. Those tend to have cooler undertones, but not always, which makes it confusing. If you have neutral undertones, it might be buff, sand, natural, beige, mocha. And then if you have warm undertones, it might be a warm beige, golden, honey, caramel, chestnut. So my color names in the winter are usually something with the sand, warm beige, natural tan. Those usually work well for me. In the summer, it's usually honey, tawny, caramel. Pretty much if I see a tawny or caramel in the summer, that's the one I'm going to reach for first, and then kind of work my shades up and down from there. So after you have a couple of shade names, then you're going to go and look at foundation swatches online. And I do this every time, especially if I'm going to the drugstore, because I really hate the little drugstore plastic guides. I think they're absolutely useless. So I always go online and look at the shade swatches online to kind of give me an idea on what shades I want to look at in the drugstore. So what I will do is I will click on the foundation dots, and then they'll have several different photos, and I will go to the photo that has a foundation swatch, and I will start looking at those. I know, again, I have more of a neutral or neutral leaning warm undertone, so my eye has now been trained to go right to those shades. I can kind of look at a swatch, a liquid swatch, and know whether or not it's going to be somewhere in the range or somewhat close. So another reason why we're doing these exercises is so you can train your eye to know what these swatches and these names are. And then you're ready to go to the store or go online and actually make a purchase or go swatching at the store. Again, that's going to be my next video. But if you're shopping online, you may want, if you're in the US or if you're a place that you can return makeup, you may want to pick 2 or 3 shades on your first purchase, so you're not waiting all the time if it's not correct. And then when they come, you pick the one you think's the best, put it on your face, see what you think. If it doesn't work, then you can try one of the other shades and return what doesn't work for you. And if this is still overwhelming for you, again, my next video is coming out in the next couple of days. I will actually give you some foundation suggestions so that if you're looking online, you can actually decide what brands you want to look at. And I will tell you how I swatch foundations in person at Sephora or stores where you can swatch yourself. Again, if you go to a makeup counter in a department store, they will swatch for you. But still, even when they're swatching, I bring a couple things with me and double check a couple things before I make any purchase, because I don't want to have to go back. If they're swatching me, I really want to leave with the right shade. So I hope this helps you narrow things down a little bit, and I hope it's not too confusing. But if it is, hopefully with the next video together, you will go to the stores and be able to pick out the best foundation shade for you. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.